We are now talking to Michigan recruit offensive lineman for the 2022 season, Connor Jones. What's going on, Connor?
Not much. How about you?
Well, I'm not dancing. With everything that's going on in the world, COVID-19, I can't wait until 2020 is over. We got one more day left, and then I can get rid of this crappy 2020 and move on to 2021 and hopefully move forward with our network, my life, and everybody else's. How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
Honestly, we're doing pretty well. It has been a struggle, even throughout the season, but I mean, overall, 2020, it's been long and hard, and I think everyone can agree with me on that.
Why Michigan? I mean, when you think of all the different schools that were recruiting you and looking at you, and I'm sure being that you're a young guy, 2 years still left of high school, what made you decide, first of all, to choose Michigan out of all the other schools that might have been interested in you next year or were interested in you now? So why Michigan?
Well, I came up with three criteria, and those were they had to have that hometown feel. I'm very big with that. That's how the town of Monument, which I live in, that's how it feels. They had to have a pretty good degree plan, which is I want to go into kinesiology and study sports medicine. And then, of course, like development, like my plan A is getting into the NFL. And then my plan B is it's taking the kinesiology route.
Oh, you can work for Jim Harbaugh and his coaching staff. He's going to need somebody, So there you go. After you're done with college football or your kinesiology degree that you're going to have, maybe you become a scientific guy like the Patriots defensive coordinator. You become a scientist slash offensive coordinator or something like that. What do you think about that?
I think that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty dope too. Maybe you can ask Jim Harbaugh if he needs another offensive-minded coach. I can come over there and help you guys out. I'll make you laugh, and hopefully, in the long run, win his job, get his job, and he goes to the Jets. And I'd be coaching you in 2 years. That would be a good thing. And I can help you out, man. I can help you with your stance and all that other stuff. Put you on a nice diet and put you, get your muscle up and all that other stuff. I'm good at that. That's one thing I'm good at. So, what is it like, Connor? What is it like being recruited on Zoom? What is it like talking to all the coaches and not going to the school, visiting the school? Obviously, you're a hometown guy. You've seen Michigan before. You've seen the school. What made you decide? First of all, made you decide? What made you? What was it like? What was it like going on the Zoom conversations with the coaches?
Well, I'll say I definitely had a lot more phone calls than Zoom conversations, so the Zoom kind of mixed it up a little bit, which was nice. And really, like me and my dad and my family, really, we decided to just control our controllables. So we were going to take every opportunity that we were going to get. And I would rather go in person than be on Zoom, but Zoom is better than a phone call.
So we actually do creative things with their recruits, getting their recruits in, whether it's in the process or directly after, as like kind of a rewarding type of thing. Was there anything specific or creative that he did with you? If he met you already personally, if not, obviously with the virtual meetings, it could have been tricky, but was there anything like crazy that he did like that?
Well, so I don't think I ever actually talked on the phone with Coach Harbaugh. It was really over FaceTime. And one time when me and my brother were FaceTiming him, he was kind of breaking down how the strength coach does stuff as far as like working on balance and all that stuff. And then, he just got up, walked backwards, took off his socks and shoes and started balancing on one foot, picking up pennies off the floor.
That sounds like Jim Harbaugh. That's for sure. I don't know him personally, but I watched him play football. I watched him when he was drafted. He was a really good quarterback in the NFL. And the problem with Jim Harbaugh, the stories that you heard about Jim Harbaugh, he didn't get along with a lot of people on the teams that he played for. He didn't get along with a lot of the coaches that coached him. But the guy is a great offensive mind. So when you had your conversations with Jim or Coach Harbaugh, what was it like? Was it very strategic, a method where he was talking about some of the offensive styles that, the game that he liked to play, or what would like to use you in the offensive game? Or was it more like just getting to know you and getting to know the personality that you were on and off the field?
It was really just trying to get to know me. And I mean, he was and still is very down to earth. He's a very down to earth guy. Like, it was kind of cool because, me and my dad grew up Michigan fans, and he played at Michigan. It was definitely really cool to be able to sit down and build a relationship with him.
Tell me you're a Tom Brady fan. Please don't tell me you're a Tom Brady fan.
I'm not.
Oh, okay, good. Because he also played for Michigan, and I'm not a big Tom Brady fan. Sixth round draft pick for the New England Patriots, and he's going to go down one of the top 5 quarterbacks to ever play the game. And we all heard the story about Michigan. But go ahead, Speedy.
So the Big Ten this year actually had a very unique type of season. They started in the middle of the season with the 6 games that they had, the conference championships. And now there's a lot of controversy now with whether Ohio State should get in the playoff, whether certain teams did better than they should as a result. So what were your thoughts on that kind of season? And maybe you might end up having to play in that kind of season if we still have that kind of issue. Do you think that maybe the dominance is still there for the Big Ten despite those drop-offs? And what do you think that kind of schedule going forward if they have to do it?
I think if any team wants to be successful with that type of season, they need to just control the controllables. So if they can't play a game that week, they're in the gym making sure they're keeping in shape, and they're in the film room making sure they're keeping up with their football IQ. And I mean, during this year, we all dealt with it. I played a 7-game schedule when I normally play like a 14-game schedule. And I think everybody at all levels was affected by COVID.
We are talking to Michigan offensive tackle recruit Connor Jones. Now, Connor, playing the offensive line, playing the tackle position, and it to me is probably the most important position in football. Everybody keeps talking about the quarterback, but everything is built in the trenches. What made you decide growing up playing the tackle position, playing the offensive line position? Were you interested in possibly being a running back or a wide receiver? What made you decide at the time when you were a young kid to play the tackle position?
Well, I will say I did start out as a tight end and defensive end my first 2 seasons in 2nd grade. But, I mean, I quickly moved to actually center. That's where I started. And, I mean, I fell in love with it. I thought it was super fun being able to just, like, stop a guy in his path and be able to just dominate him. And then after that, I moved out to guard, and that was even more fun because there were, pulls and a bunch of different schemes that you can do as a guard that were just fun. You get to run around the field and hit people.
Dancing poles? Did you dance on a dancing pole? Is that what you're saying to us? You were dancing on poles? I don't know. You just said pole. The first thing I could think when it comes to working out is dancing on a pole. So I don't know. As you guys know, we are talking to Michigan offensive tackle recruit Connor Jones. So Connor,
you mentioned you played all 3. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No. Keep going.
Go ahead, Speedy.
So you mentioned you played all 3. What are some of the biggest differences with each of them? And like you were saying, with all these different crazy schemes that a lot of high school and college coaches are coming up with now, what were some of the differences in that? And what were the most fun maybe to play in, maybe most creative schemes that you played in terms of what you can do?
Well, as far as differences between all 3 positions, it gets harder as you move more outside, I believe. Now, I'm not going to take away from anyone in the inside positions, but I think being a tackle and being almost on your own island, you have to be well fit and have fast feet and be able to get out there to those speedy guys, because if you don't, you're just leaving your quarterback out hanging. And then as far as really just like schemes that I've really enjoyed playing with, when I was at guard, actually my freshman year, I was able to kick pull, and we ran a counter, but I kick pulled towards the opposite way that the counter was going, and I just knocked someone, like I just knocked the crap out of someone.
So you like to dance on poles and you like to play kickball. That's what you were just telling us. So you're a pole dancer and you like to play kickball. Is that what you're telling us right here? I'm just kidding.
I mean,
I'm just kidding with you, Connie. I'm just kidding with you. But what is your strengths? I mean, as an offensive lineman, as an offensive tackle, are you good with your feet? Are you good with your hands? Do you have long arms? What is your strength? What stands out? Your particular size. What is the thing that stands out as an offensive tackle that makes you so incredible at the position?
I would like to think that, I've been training with my trainer up in Denver for the past 2 years. His name is Matt McChesney. The gym's called 6-0. So if you're in town, feel free to check it out. And one thing that he's always said when I first started was use your length, because your length is your best friend. So now, being a little bit more developed than I was then, I'm able to use my length, and I'm not a double puncher. I like to use independent hands. And so you combine that with the length and you do it right, and the defender almost can't do anything. And then you match that with your footwork, and I do more of a drive catch, not a kick. So I drive off my inside foot, catch my outside foot, and keep it smaller steps. And, that it puts you in a position to where if they make an inside move, it's a lot easier to transition.
Mm-hmm.
And then you combine that with that inside hand, and you whack them right in the sternum with that torque hand, right, with your hand and hip.
Mm.
And then they don't go inside again. And then after you take away that inside move, they start rushing hard outside. You take a more vertical kick. And
you got me with some crazy torque hand. I mean, I can use that on my show now. So if I want a torque hand Speedy, now I know what it is. So thank you for giving me that information. That's something I can use in something. But I will say this. You are very defined on what you are at your position. We've talked to a lot of offensive tackles, and pretty much they would tell us their footwork and stuff like that. You're explaining to us what makes you strong at the position, explaining if somebody goes inside, you torque hand them. If you go outside, you can do this, you can do that. You have a divide plan every single time. You have a fast guy coming on the outside or a strong beast of a man coming on the inside. So that's very interesting to me. Is there a particular offensive tackle in the NFL or in college football right now that stands out that you can compare and contrast your game to?
I would like to say Taylor Lewan.
Interesting. Why?
Well, first of all, I have talked to Taylor. That was probably the best experience I've ever had. But he's more of a meaner offensive lineman. And he takes that and he takes his more lean body and makes it more athletic with everything that he does. And I'm getting there with the speed and the quickness. I'm definitely working towards it. My goal my senior year is to be one of the fastest, quickest tackles you'll ever see. But he just uses his athletic ability to get around people, and especially on reaches, those are very hard to do, especially if you have a corner blitz. So you have to get out there in the corner, and being able to have that athleticism and get around that guy. It takes a lot. So I would like to say that's because of Taylor Lewan.
Now, I will say I'm reading what Stacey Jones says. He says pull, not pull. I know it was pull. I was kidding. If you guys actually watch this show, you would know that I'm kidding. I know what he was saying. I know he said pull. I know he didn't say kickball. Okay, I'm joking. Okay, so and Stacey Jones, Thomas H. Jackson, I was kidding. It was a joke. It went over your head. I understand.